You can tell how long it's been since I've been on Zoom. It's using an old background image.
Afternoon, everybody. The numbers are creeping up very, very quickly in regards to attendance this afternoon. We're going to give it another minute and then we'll start the webinar, just to give everybody an opportunity to get comfy with a cuppa and listen to what Lee and Josh have to share with us this afternoon. Hi, Chris. To answer your question, yeah, that's no problem if you want to share that with colleagues. More than happy for the information to go forward once it's been sent out at the end. Hi from Leap Talent. Nice to see you. Hi, Paul. Okay, so I think what we're going to do is we'll start off. People are still joining us, but obviously it's a busy old day today. So happy Wednesday and welcome to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. So just before we dive in, I just want to do a couple of housekeeping and intros as well. So drop into the chat where you're joining from today. It's always nice to see where everyone's dialing in from. So please do give yourself a little shout out on the chat, as some have already done this morning or this afternoon. Sorry. My name's Kelly Huntington. I'm the Sales and Marketing Director here at OneFile, and I'm really pleased to be hosting today's session around the apprenticeship units. So quick housekeeping. Just a quick note before we start, please submit any questions you have using the Q&A function rather than the chat. We do have a team who are manning the Q&A for us, so please give them something to do. We need to keep them entertained over the next hour, so it will help us also to keep on track and make sure that we're going through as many of the questions and answering them as possible. So why today? What is it all about? So what we want to cover today is that what is apprenticeship units actually meaning in practice? Why do they matter for providers and employers, and how to start thinking about them moving forward? This isn't going to be a deep compliance session. It's about moving the conversation forward, focusing on clarity, the context, and the confidence about how this impacts the sector and how it evolves. Before we get into the detail, I'm really pleased and proud to be introducing you to our two speakers today. So we have Lee, who is the Partnership Director at OAL, bringing the awarding organisation perspective, including sector drivers, funding and quality considerations. Afternoon, Lee. Thanks for joining
Good
us.
afternoon. Thanks for inviting me, Kelly.
No
Good
problem.
job it's not about compliance because I would be the wrong person to be having on it.
Absolutely. And then we have Josh, our VP of Research and Development here at OneFile, who'll be sharing how apprenticeship units can be delivered in practice and what this looks like for our providers on a day-to-day basis. So between them, I think we've got covered the why and how around apprenticeship units. The agenda for us today is going to be a quick run through of what you can expect. So we'll start with some sector insights and this perspective. Then we'll move on to practical applications, and then we'll finish with a lovely Q&A session and a discussion, which I think everybody loves on a Wednesday afternoon. Please feel free to submit questions, as I said earlier, through the questions section anytime. Now, I'm going to hand over the baton to Lee and let him take over. So it's been lovely to see that we've had 50 messages already of people giving themselves shout outs of where they're from. And I hope you enjoy this afternoon. Over to you, Lee.
Thanks, Kelly. So good afternoon, everybody. So as Kelly mentioned, we're going to talk about what apprenticeship units are all about and look at how AOs, OAL in particular, but our other awarding organisations might be able to support you with delivery and quality assurance. So what are apprenticeship units? They're short and focused. They are designed to be much quicker than full apprenticeships. So they are short, sharp interventions for employed members of staff rather than the longer duration 12-month plus apprenticeship programs. They are built from existing apprenticeship standards. So your content, the knowledge and skills that sit within apprenticeship units are taken from existing apprenticeship standards. They may not all be from the same apprenticeship standard. So you might have units taken from multiple standards, KSs taken from multiple standards, knowledge and skills from multiple standards and put into one unit. For example, if we're looking at some of the AI units, there's 3 different AI units, and they've got content from the AI and quality and the AI level 4 standard. They've also got from some knowledge and skills from senior leader at level 7. They've got some from the manager program at level 6. So they've got elements taken from all sorts of different units. They are targeted, so to focus on specific skills gaps or business needs. So looking at particularly around industrial strategy. So where do government see that there is a need for industry to respond positively and quickly to skills gaps? And they've been working with industry to identify what units they think would help alleviate some knowledge and skills gaps within various sectors. They are standalone, so they do not need to be completed as part of an apprenticeship, so they are completely independent. Wait a second, having some things pop up. So they must include a skills test, which skills test must be provider-led, but it needs also to be validated by the employer as well. So they are completely different to standalone apprenticeships. Next slide, please. Eligibility and funding. So to access funded apprenticeship units, learners must be at least 19 or over, be employed in England, and require new skills that are relevant to their job role. They cannot be enrolled on any other apprenticeship program at the same time. There is no requirement for them to complete any English or maths, or to work towards a full apprenticeship unit, or to have to work towards a full apprenticeship standard. And there's no requirement for an endpoint assessment, an external assessment for it. In principle, each training provider must be able to evidence that each learner that was attended the program, who is registered for the program, has acquired the specific knowledge and skills set out in those units. Funding is conditional on this evidence being clearly documented and validated with the employer and learner. And this is not an optional thing. It cannot be inferred from attendance alone. There is a mandatory skills test, which is the primary evidence requirement to demonstrate that the learner, because they're not an apprentice, even though it's called an apprenticeship unit, that the learner has acquired the primary skills and knowledge that are detailed in the unit. So every apprenticeship unit must include a provider-led skills test to confirm competence, and the training providers must design the skills test so it directly assesses the knowledge and skills listed in the unit specification. The training providers must agree the assessment approach with the employers that they're working with at the start of the program and set out the assessment method and success criteria in their training plan. And they must administer and record the outcomes of the test. Resets are allowed where appropriate. If an apprentice or a learner, should I say, has failed, with the justification for the reset recorded. The overall eligibility and funding, the funding is 30% upon sign up and a final 70% on successful completion. Next slide, please. Funding rates. Now, this is an interesting one. And I'm sure you're all, battling through each other to sign up to these funding rates because they're really, really high. So as you can see, they're not massively well funded. and you will be, in order to make them viable, you're going to have to get some decent cohort sizes. I'm thinking around 15 sort of minimum. 12 to 16 and probably a decent cohort size to make these sustainable when you're looking at the individual funding rate per learner. As you can see, the funding rate is sort of applied to the minimum delivery hours, and delivery needs to be face-to-face. Even with things like AI, which would lend itself automatically to digital delivery, the funding requirements mean that you've got to deliver it face-to-face. And these are the first units that came out. Originally, AI was going to be one massive unit, but they decided to split it into three. And they added the battery manufacturing unit a little bit after the first ones were released. The plan is that these will be very much treated as pilots, looking at the uptake and success of them, and they will potentially release other units individually as time goes on. There are no plans to release them in a batch like they have done with this first lot. In terms of the longevity of them, the idea is that they can potentially switch these units on and off. So if, for example, we're talking about battery manufacturing and there's a shortage of people with battery manufacturing skills, and there's a massive uptake in the battery manufacturing unit, and that skills gap is closed in, say, 2 years' time, and the government no longer sees that as a need, they'll switch that battery manufacturing unit off. If that level drops again, there's the potential for it to switch back on again. So unlike the full apprenticeships, they have the ability to keep becoming switched on and off and be much more sort of transactional and more rapid response to industrial need. Next slide, please. So it'd be disingenuous of me not to mention some of the challenges and criticisms of apprenticeship units. We do want to be really positive about them on in this webinar, but I think there are some issues that we need to get out there and upfront. So let's be honest, the challenges predominantly are funding rates. They're not the massive cash cow that you may have hoped for. There is a risk of them undermining the value of apprenticeships. So purely because of the name, if they'd have been called skills units, that might have made more sense, but they are called apprenticeship units, even though people on them will not be apprentices or classed as apprentices. They'll just be an opportunity to access the growth and skills levy, which used to be called apprenticeship levy, which is why you can see why they'd be called apprenticeship units. Now it's growth and skills levy. Why call them apprenticeship units? Who knows? But because these have less focus on quality assurance, you don't have an endpoint assessment, you don't have mandated qualifications and things like that sit within it. The potential for malpractice, etc., bad actors coming into play risks undermining the value of apprenticeships, which, to be honest, are at the highest they've been in a very long time in terms of reputation. Potential for variance of consistency. So because each individual training provider who delivers the units designs their own assessments and designs their own programs, there is a high potential that there will be a lack of consistency between provision, and depending upon where if you're a multi-site business, for example, and you are utilising different training providers in different areas of the country to deliver these units, there's a potential there for there to be a lack of consistency of both delivery and output. So there may be some work there to be done in terms of getting providers together to have a combined approach. There are also concerns about portability and value. So what I mean by that is because these are not a regulated program, they're not a regulated qualification, what value do they hold to future employers? If you're an employer and you put in a learner through the engineer mechanical fitting unit or electrical fitting unit, for example, and that meets your immediate requirements for some skills within your workplace, and you've worked specifically with one training provider that you trust and value, and they've delivered a good program for you, and then they produce a provider-led certificate, what value does that convey to a future employer? Because it's not a regulated qualification. So can they trust that? Do they? Will they? So there are some concerns about what value that training will hold for a learner moving forward in their career. There are also some criticisms about the lack of oversight and of external quality assurance. So there is no mandated requirement for any training provider to engage with any awarding organisation whatsoever for the quality assurance of delivery or assessment. So again, this poses some challenges, particularly for funded, which in what they are funded programs. It's highly unusual for there to be no external quality assurance or oversight on the quality of delivery or output. Next slide, please.
There is a crisis of opportunity.
There you go. This will hopefully address that crisis of opportunity. So how do we change these challenges into opportunities? Well, unfortunately, nobody can impact the funding, but together we can address some of the other challenges. We can look at how we can increase the value and ensure portability of these programs moving forward. We can look at providing oversight in EQA. And this, by the way, is not a sales pitch for OEL. Other awarding organisations are also available who you may choose to work with or might be able to support you in this way. We can reduce the risk of the reputational impact through high quality co-designed assessment, and we can improve consistency and provide assurance on quality by working together to ensure that we've got high quality programs, high quality outputs, and consistency across multiple providers by having some form of quality assurance and guidance, whether that be in just assessment design or endorsing the delivery or accrediting delivery, depending upon how you'd like to look at it. Next slide, please. So how do we do this? So apprenticeship units risk being seen as employer-specific training, just targeted at that individual employer where that learner works at that time. So unless external recognition can be achieved, then that is a potential risk. Awarding organisation endorsement directly addresses this by providing formal certification issued by OEL or others, clearly stating endorsed by occupational awards, for example, gives a differentiation from attendance certificate, signalling that learning and competence have been independently reviewed, and provides national recognition linked to awarding organisation quality and consistency. We are highly regulated organisations, so we don't want to put our reputation at risk by endorsing programs that we do not feel are suitable. And this gives learners then portable evidence of skills and knowledge that can be recognised by future employers, support progression into further training or full apprenticeships, and be used as a credible proof of prior learning and where appropriate. So there are opportunities, and this fits within the funding rules, that you can engage with an AO or assessment organisation to help you design the assessments and for other forms of accreditation and endorsement. So the actual eligible funding can be applied to use with AOs for things like co-design of assessment. Next slide, please. So how does this help? How does this help employers address concerns and add value? Well, specifically, endorsement ensures that an apprenticeship unit has a clearly defined purpose, a target audience, learning outcomes, and total learning hours. So as part of that recognition and endorsement, an AO would review all of that with you. It uses an explicit assessment approach aligned to those outcomes, including confirmation of competence, not just participation. So again, co-design with an experienced AO who are used to designing assessments, because that's what we do, would help you and help training providers create a high quality assessment that is robust, but also appropriate in terms of size, content, and level. It'd be delivered by an approved centre. So in order to be endorsed, you'd have to be a centre with your awarding organisation, which then would check on the delivery capability and occupational competence of those delivering those units. So at present, although you'd need to be perceived by Skills England as a good provider to be able to offer units, there is potential for a provider to go a little bit rogue, sign up lots and lots of people, not have sufficient delivery staff with the right occupational competence and skill to deliver those units, which may mean you have some really excellent delivery in some areas and some not so great delivery in others. Whereas if you're engaging with an AO, they will check all that and validate that you've got the right staff doing the right things at the right time. This would also be subject to annual external quality assurance with the ability for an AO to withdraw that endorsement if the standards were not maintained. So again, you've got some reassurance for your employers that you're delivering a good quality program and that program is being regularly checked for that level of quality. So this gives employers and funders, because at the end of the day, if these turn out to be a disaster, Skills England would stop funding it. So this gives employers and funders confidence that apprenticeship units meet consistent sector-recognised quality benchmarks rather than relying solely on provider self-assurance. So how does that benefit you as a provider? Well, if you're looking at endorsing a programme rather than creating a qualification or accrediting a programme, AOs use interchangeable words for this, but basically it becomes non-regulated. It allows you to retain control of intellectual property. So your program, even if it is endorsed by an AO, is still your program, and they will not share it with anybody else. So how you've designed your delivery, that's yours, and it's not for us to resell it and package it and give it to somebody else, because that would be contrary to our regulations. Equally with the assessment design. So if we co-design it with you and you're inputting on that design, that assessment is your assessment. If you asked us to design it for you, we may design the same assessment for multiple people. But so it depends on how you approach that. But again, that gives you a competitive advantage over the others who are maybe not doing the same thing. It enables you to rapidly update content and assessment. So what I mean by that is if it was a qualification, if you created a qualification and it has to go through Ofqual regulation, there are various steps and measures that it means it takes a while to get approved. And then to make any changes, there are various hoops that you have to jump through to make them changes. If it is your program that we are endorsing, then it's your program. So you can make changes, but you need to share those changes with us so that we can approve them. But that is a rapid thing. It's not something that takes weeks and months. It is days. It avoids a lengthy regulatory change process that can quickly make short programs obsolete. So we've seen in the past some qualifications last a very long time and they remain robust. In advancing technologies, rapidly evolving things like AI, developing a qualification as soon as it's developed and approved is probably out of date. So these units give you that bit more flexibility and speed to rapidly respond. And when having an endorsed program, again, that gives you rapidity rather than having to wait long durations to get these things approved and quality assured. Through an OAL endorsement, it enables you to claim certificates without an EQA visit. So when I'm talking about an OAL endorsement, what we do is we endorse your program of delivery and we may have helped you co-design that assessment. What we're not doing is we're not quality assuring your assessment decisions. So as with a qualification, particularly if it's a new qualification, you'd have to have an EQA visit or multiple EQA visits before you got direct claims, should we say. I know that's Ofqual don't like direct claims anymore, but basically that type of thing. If we're endorsing the program itself, as long as you've completed or the learner's completed the assessment successfully, you would then be able to claim the certificate instantly through our portal because it does not require an EQA visit, where other than the annual ones to check and maintain standards. Next slide, please. I don't know if there's any questions that we need to address before we move on to Josh.
I think what we'll do, Lee, is we'll do Josh and his update, and then what we'll do is we'll move on to the questions because there's a nice amount starting to build up there for you to answer. So apologies, they all do seem to be coming your way at the moment.
Yep, no
But
problem.
thank you, Lee. That was really, really valuable context. And now what we're going to do is move on from the why to the how. So Josh, I know you're having a few technical IT issues with your internet this afternoon, so hopefully you'll be able to get through this without it crashing on you again. But this is over to you.
Yeah, afternoon everyone. So yeah, I've had the wonderful joy of my internet's just dropped out. So I am using my phone internet at the minute. So if it goes a bit choppy, I apologize for that. But yeah, no, that was a great overview, Lee. Much appreciated that. So yeah, Lee looked at what apprenticeship units are, but it's now my job to look at the practical side of it, of how we actually deliver them inside one file. So if we go on to the next slide, please. Just as a quick recap and an overview. So apprenticeship unit is it's just a short, focused, it's target defined slice of that standard. So it pulls out, as Lee said, the skills and the behaviour, the skill, knowledge and the skills from the other apprenticeship standards that are already in place, and pulls them together into a unit that is used for those those quick turnaround courses on the skills gaps that people are looking for as well. So the whole point of these is the speed, and that's exactly how it changes. As Lee mentioned, that the turnaround on some of these, when it are the digital skills, especially, if you're building something and then it's out of date in 6 months' time, then you're reinventing the wheel every time as well. So we go on to the next slide, please. So onto the one file side, and fortunately, that's the easy bit. So one file is built already on customizable standards and learning names. So it already has that logical separation of units and criterias in the back end. So pulling those together is a simple job for us when these new ones come through. And the good news for you, it's the same platform that you're already using. It's just pointed at a shorter course. So all aspects of that one file ecosystem are viable across these apprenticeship units. So looking at those 4 pillars there, so enroll, you can get those learners onboarded quickly, which matters when speed is the essence on these courses. E-portfolios where you can track the evidence captured against those skills and knowledges, and then track gives you that live progress against each of the elements that you are working towards on that. And then the reporting side of it, so all the reports that you have in one file will be available for that. So you'll be able to pull through the progress of where they're up to, all the outcomes and the funding relating to it as well. So the benefit for yourselves, you're not learning a new system to deliver these units. You're already using what you already know. We have pre-built, sorry, just for every sec. Is that coming through okay now, Kelly?
It's just a bit in and out, so I don't know whether turning your camera off will help with your reception.
Yeah, I'll leave my camera off for the remainder of it then. Yeah, apologies everyone. So yeah, we have pre-built the units that have been published already into one file. So if you are looking to deliver these inside the one file application, you can just request them, and they will be added to your centre. We have a mix of customers using it as all apprentices or learners inside one centre, although we have got people using it across split centres. So they'll have your main one file centre and then your apprenticeship unit centre. And obviously the use of delivery plans is still crucial between those, but we're also very aware that rebuilding a delivery plan for these smaller units can be time consuming. So we have got the ability as well to migrate the delivery plans between the centres now as well. So if you are looking at setting up a new centre specifically for the apprenticeship unit delivery, if you get in contact with your account manager or support teams, we can migrate any of those delivery plans over onto that new centre for you as well. And as Lee said, the first bank is out, that's live, but these are going to be ever evolving. So any that are published in the future, we will be building those out of them in. And like you do with your main standards at the minute, we can bespoke them, we can adjust them, and we can tailor them to suit your needs as well. So we'll go on to the next slide, please. And I think with everything, especially when it's these short courses as well, there's 2 main worries that are always going to come up. So is it creditable? Does the funding stack up? And is the quality there? And I think with one file, we answer both of those. So because units are built on the employee designed occupational standards, every skill has an evidence trail in the platform. So you're capturing evidence against each aspect of it. So you can stand behind the legitimacy of it, the content and the quality delivery behind that as well. And on the funding side, they're delivered through the levy. So the platform keeps a clean record of any funding and audit. So just clear reporting on that, and it helps you stay on top of any progress and outcomes that you might need to draw down on in the future. And then if you move on to the next one, please. So the quick takeaways for this. So Apprenticeship Units, the short levy-funded courses on occupational standards, they did go live in April 26. We've seen some uptake on them already and people starting to use them. They complement the full apprenticeships, although you can't be on both of them at the same time. It uses elements of them to build them. And as we've seen from Lee's slides, they're sort of focused on the AI, the digital and the engineering skills gap that people are looking for at the minute. One file runs them in the same platform. So enroll, ePortfolio, the tracking side of it and the reporting. And they are the short cycle build. So you can get those through quickly and identify those gaps that you need. And that's it from my side. And I apologize if it was very choppy and robotic then. It was just absolutely awful timing that the internet decided to drop out.
It is fine, Josh. Thank you for doing that. And sorry you had to turn your camera off. We know you're here. But yeah, thank you for doing that. Look, thank you to both of you. It's been really, really interesting and very insightful. As you probably both have seen, there's been quite a few questions coming through. So before I go into the questions that I wanted to ask, I'm gonna move on to the ones that others have asked first. So Paul has asked, Lee, you said face to face. Can that still be via Teams, or does it have to be in an actual classroom?
It has to be it can be via Teams, but it has to be a live virtual classroom. So they originally just said face to face, but they updated the funding relatively recently to say that a live virtual classroom with everybody being in attendance at the same time is also acceptable.
Okay. And then Helen has also asked, so do these not come under Ofsted as they're unregulated?
They do not currently come under Ofsted, so Ofsted will not be inspecting delivery of apprenticeship units, and that's in agreement with Skills England and DFE DWP. So there are no plans at present for Ofsted to be involved.
Okay, thank you. And then Joanna has asked, which is a really interesting question actually, can these be collected to make a full apprenticeship?
No, they are not stackable. So there's none actually that would naturally combine together other than the AI units. But because you've got knowledge and skills taken, sorry, I'm going back into my West Yorkshire there, taken. If they've been taken from different apprenticeships, then it doesn't add up. So you can't stack them to create a full apprenticeship.
Perfect. Thank you for that. And then Julie has asked, I'm really not sure how this differs from CPD in terms of certification, which is another good question. Thank you, Julie.
So it doesn't if you're just doing it at, say if you were delivering an apprenticeship unit, well, it does because there's an assessment. So with CPD is not necessarily assessment. You can be attending things. You've got a certificate of attendance, etc. With an apprenticeship unit, there is a formal assessment which can be co-designed. It can be entirely designed by a provider. It can be entirely designed by an AO if you want them to. But there has to be a synoptic assessment to test the knowledge and skills of the learner. It's referred to currently as a skills test, but you'd also be assessing the knowledge in there as well. And the format of that test is completely open. So you'd adapt that to the apprenticeship unit that's being delivered. For example, you may have more practical type of assessment for the engineering and construction style programs.
Thank you. Then I've got Helen is asking, so can we do these units and act as RPL if a learner decides to complete the apprenticeship standard? So in other words, if they started those apprenticeship units, could we RPL them into an actual full apprenticeship?
Potentially, but the ambition is that you would not really be using them as a stepping stone into an apprenticeship of the same level. They are really supposed to be standalone, sharp focused skills development for relatively experienced individuals within a particular role to help them develop into slightly more advanced roles or improve their skills. So if the ambition was to do an apprenticeship in the long run, you're probably better off doing the full apprenticeship than doing a unit, because there are quite a lot of things sitting within them. So what and again, going back to the point that there's bits taken from different units, different quality, different standards, different apprenticeships. It's not easy to quantify that RPL. So I would avoid it.
Fair. Thank you so much. One for Josh now. Josh, you're going to have to come off mute. How are OneFile going to change the off the job to minimum hours of delivery to help us track this as so it's being met appropriately? We use the delivery plans and we are looking to use learner journals to reflect on practices and the links to the KSBs. This is from Natalie, Josh.
That's an interesting one. So I think on that aspect of it, so you can use the timesheets to record the time against it, and the learning aim created in the app. Natalie, I think I'd like to unpick that one with you a little bit, because we wouldn't be looking at putting the after jobs against the apprenticeship unit.
What we'll do, Josh, is we'll get you Natalie's contact details and you can read it. But yeah, that's thank you. And then I've got Claire is asking, does an apprenticeship unit need learning outcomes / criteria? Lee?
Sorry, can you repeat that one for me, Kelly?
No problem. Does an apprenticeship unit need learning outcomes / criteria?
Yes. So you're designing a delivery program. Your outcomes are the knowledge and skills that are detailed within the unit. So, if you're looking at an apprenticeship standard, you'd have the knowledge and skills. You've got the exactly same thing with an apprenticeship unit, and then you've got to design that final assessment, the assessment of it, which would demonstrate those criteria. So it does have to have formalised approach for delivery and assessment.
Brilliant, thank you. I've got 2 questions now from the same person, which is Vanessa. Do you have any data or experience on what the units which units are being used and how popular they are? I mean, this could be a question to both of you, I suppose. So,
I mean, yeah, we can see people enrolling against them. We have got a couple of customers running with them at the minute. We can't publish that data, but Leah, yourselves, have you seen a throughput of them?
No, so we've had quite a number of inquiries about how we can support and endorse. I think it's quite similar to when we were looking at foundation apprenticeships. I think there's a bit of an appetite there, but I've not seen it being rolled out wide scaled yet. And I don't actually think government expect it to be either. I think they don't think it's going to be like huge numbers, but we will see.
Thank you. And then again, from the same person we have, do you know how employers / providers can inform on what's in the units and how they should be developed?
I wish I did, because they might have looked a bit different. So yeah, I think it's very much a Skills England thing where they're off on their own doing it. I'm not aware of any employer groups that have been convened to feed into it at present. So unfortunately, I couldn't advise on how you could get involved.
No, that's fine. Thank you. We can do some follow-ups if we need to. And then David has asked, and it's again another interesting question, is do they affect achievement rates?
On QAR?
Yes.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. Well, I'll look into it.
We can come back to you, David. We'll make a note that that's a question that you've asked. Matteo, you've asked a question of full live virtual class with a tutor and the students all together. So it's just a slight twist on the question that was asked earlier about remote virtual learning and actually being in a classroom. So if it's a full virtual class with the tutor and all the students together, is that going to be acceptable?
Yep, that will be fine.
Okay. Then we've got Hannah has asked, will a provider have their success rates measured for these units? Which I think we've answered earlier, Hannah, for you, which is we're going to look into that one because we're not sure how that's going to affect success rates at the moment. And then I've got Stephanie has asked, Josh, this is one for you. Will the current registers in OneFile be compliant for funding?
So I think, as Lee said, I don't think evidence of just turning up and attending is enough. You've got to have actual evidence against the knowledge and the skills in that. So just having, it's not as dissimilar to a boot camp. So just turning up and being present isn't enough. You need to have that evidence to show that you've done that learning against it. Lee, have you got anything to add for that one?
No, I think you've covered it well there, Josh.
And then to answer your question, yes, Natalie, once we get the answer to the achievement rates, we will share that with everybody who's joined today. We had just over 300 people register, so we'll make sure that that information is shared with everybody. I've got Rhiannon. If we deliver an accredited qualification, Lee, as part of the apprenticeship unit, do we still separate the skills assessment?
Yes. So I think you're talking about welding. I think there, you have to deliver a qualification within the welding unit. But yeah, you still have to do the skills assessment as well. I have double checked in background, and they do not count against QAR if the standalone apprenticeship units are not counted against your overall achievement rates.
Thank you. And Patrick said this is a very narrow list of units. When will the other industries be added? Do we have any ideas of estimated time of arrival, Lee? Anything with this afternoon? Any insider info?
They are really wanting to see how these land, and they're very much treating these as pilots. I think the potential for some more to come out in the autumn, and I'm not sure if this is just a bit of a trying to placate people, but they've mentioned stuff around leadership. But to be honest, I can't see why they would defund leadership apprenticeships and then create units, which would then suck up a lot of funding. So it'll be interesting to see what actually comes along. But it would be autumn before anything comes out next, and it's supposed to be just one at a time. But they are known to do bits of U-turns out of these organisations.
They are, and I think Patrick and Philip are being a bit of a tag team here. So the next question feeds nicely into the question that Patrick just asked, which is, in light of the loss of the leadership and management quals, we're not talking about it. Everyone's still very sad, Philip, about that. How soon do you think that the new units based on leadership and management could be produced?
It would, if it's coming out, it would be in autumn. I would expect. But I personally am not. I could be very wrong, but I'm personally not confident there'll be a great deal there.
Okay, no, that's wonderful. Vanessa has asked, you would think the achievement rates would likely improve the metrics due to them being shorter, lower risk, and more flexible. It's hard to tell at the moment, Lee. What's your thoughts on that one?
That might be the reason why they're not being included against achievement rates. I think also because of the lack of external quality assurance and validation, and because it's got potential to be entirely provider-led and designed and assessed without any qualification, without any AO involvement. I would say they'd see that as a massive risk.
No problem, thank you. And then I've got Tom has asked, and this is an interesting question, so thank you, Tom, for raising it. Do you think it's likely that the skills assessments will be externally assured and verified in the future, similar to the current EPA process?
It would depend. I don't personally, if this is anything like a success, then probably not. However, if there was some sort of scandal, shall we say, if we're thinking if we go back to the days of, say Train Again, where you're having full apprenticeships, NVQs delivered in 3 weeks and things. If some provider went completely rogue, signed up thousands of the people on it, all passed with very dodgy assessments, then they may bring in external quality assurance, or they may just completely scrap them.
It'll be interesting to see. I just want to say thank you to Sharon Robbie. It's lovely to see a friendly name that I recognise saying that actually it's been seen in the FE week. It's been mentioned that there is scope for it to potentially be incorporated into an Ofsted inspection, but that wouldn't be until April 2027 if they did do it. So it's a keep an eye on it. It hasn't been confirmed. But it is something that is potentially being considered to be put in scope, but not for another 12 months. I should think they're probably going to want to see how these land, what the uptake is, the additional work that it's going to be required. So look, I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody today. This has been really, really good. There's been some really, really good questions. Thank you to Josh and to Lee for joining us this afternoon and giving us an introduction to everything that has apprenticeship units from a one file point of view and from an OAL point of view. Keep in contact with us, keep the questions coming. We're more than happy to support, guide and advise. OneFile has an amazing group of individuals working with us that'll be able to point you in the right direction and support us along with the team at OAL. So I just want to wrap up this afternoon with a quick thank you to everyone. Thank you for joining. It was great to see. I didn't expect to see 50 odd messages all come in at once to see how many different locations we had visiting us today. Again, a huge thanks to both Josh and to Lee. If you have any follow-up questions, please do not hesitate to continue the conversation with us. As I said, the team are really, really excited to talk to you about any of this. And we do have another webinar coming up on the 1st of July to continue the discussion. We will be sharing more information about that later today. So thank you. Enjoy your hopefully better weather than we have here in Kent. It's not as sunny as it has been. It's a little bit wet and a little bit dismal out there. So enjoy the rest of your day. And I hope the week goes well. Thank you so much, everybody, for attending this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks all.